From underwater restaurants to one of the largest domed atriums in the world, Nashville is full of surprises. That's right, Nashville isn't just about country music, it's so much more than that. And in this guide, we're going to be covering some amazing things that you can do as a tourist or traveler visiting Nashville. I know I promised surprises, but the first thing we're going to be talking about isn't going to be a surprise to anyone who knows Nashville, and this is Honky Tonk Highway. Located on Broadway Road, this cuts right through the middle of downtown Nashville and is the main strip that you go if you're looking for bars, clubs, or any sort of drinking scene whatsoever. Day or night, 9 a.m. or 9 p.m., this place is buzzing. You have vast crowds of people walking up and down the street looking for their next drink. Music blasts from every bar, and it is not just country music. Despite its reputation, Nashville has it all, although there is a good bit of country music being represented. Along with the bars and clubs, there's also party buses driving up and down this street, and if you think party buses are only a nighttime affair, Nashville would like to have a word with you because these things seem to be going 24/7. And by that I mean when I went out at midday, there were party buses driving up and down Broadway. And just in case you're wondering, you're not just limited to buses. You've got everything from Jeeps to pedaling bicycles to pedaling bars that go up and down the street with passengers getting drunk to the heart's content. And if you're wondering how all of this is legal and allowed, that is because in Tennessee, it seems like so long as the driver is not drinking, it is okay for anyone else in a vehicle to drink. And next up on the list of places to visit in Nashville, we have Printer's Alley. This is one that a lot of locals know, but it is a beautiful alley located in downtown Nashville. This alley is covered in signs advertising, you guessed it, clubs, restaurants, and bars. The history behind Printer's Alley is actually really interesting, but first, let's just go into Printer's Alley as a photo op. It's a beautiful place to take a few photos, and if you're looking to get a really classic Nashville-looking picture, Printer's Alley is probably a better place to try for that than Honky Tonk Highway, although both of them are extremely beautiful, just in different ways. Now, for the history behind Printer's Alley, because I find this extremely interesting, in the early 20th century, Printer's Alley was an alley filled with, you guessed it, printers. Once Prohibition came to the United States, Printer's Alley started being filled with establishments who looked the other way, along with law enforcement. This, in and of itself, isn't really that unique to Nashville, because there's places all over the U.S. where establishments or areas where establishments would look the other way because Prohibition was something that a lot of society frowned upon. However, in Nashville, the sale of liquor for on-premise consumption was not made legal until 1968. So Printer's Alley was an alley that existed for well over 30 years as an area that you could illegally buy and consume liquor in Nashville. I do love a place with a little bit of history. The next place doesn't really have any history at all. This would just be Assembly Food Hall. It's a great place to get a bite to eat. You don't need to get a full meal or even a sit-down meal. You can just go in, grab something to eat, and head right back out. It's at the end of Honky Tonk Highway, or the end of that part of Broadway, so it's actually a really nice and easy place to stop. It's very family friendly if you decide to take your kids to Honky Tonk Highway, which is something that I did do, and I wouldn't even recommend against it as long as you do it during the day. At night, Honky Tonk Highway can be a bit harder with kids. Just let that be noted. There's a lot of drunk people, and if you got a stroller or something like that, it might get a little complicated. Now, let's jump to the next place, which is a place with a ton of history. However, that history is not located in Nashville. What I'm talking about is the Parthenon. That's right, in Nashville, they have reconstructed the Parthenon, and it does look pretty cool. Also, if you want to make a lot of Greek people really angry, you can tell them that you visited the real Parthenon, the new, modern, and improved Parthenon, which only exists in Nashville. And when I say new, I am using that term very liberally. The Parthenon was actually built in 1897, and the permanent version of the structure, the one that you see on this video, was created and built between 1925 and 1931. So while the Parthenon does exist in Nashville, and it is a bit old, it's not quite as old as the one in Greece, which is one of the reasons I do plan to actually visit Athens in a few weeks. So if you have any recommendations to that, leave them down below because I'm always looking for good recommendations. Now, on with the guide, because the next place we're going to be talking about is one that would really blow your socks off, especially if you've got kids. It is the aquarium. The aquarium is an amazing restaurant located inside the Opry Mills Mall. The Opry Mills Mall in and of itself is actually a really great place to visit. You can spend a couple hours there. There's some really great shopping to do and some really cool things and activities that you can also find there. Now, back to the aquarium restaurant. This is a restaurant in the Opry Mills Mall that has a giant aquarium inside of it. The whole restaurant is decorated so it feels like you're under the sea, and walking into the restaurant, you see all areas of the restaurant have a line of sight into this giant aquarium. And when I say giant, I mean giant. This is a 200,000 gallon tank. It's filled with massive fish, stingrays, a whole host of just interesting things to see, and it's right there in front of you. Even if your table is as far as possible from the aquarium, you still have a really good line of sight. We're talking maybe only 20 feet to the aquarium, and you'll still have a perfect viewing point to see everything that's going on. If, however, you want to get your nose up into the glass, that is completely possible because there's walkways around the whole aquarium windows, so you can walk right up and see it. This is an amazing restaurant for an adult and even better for a kid. If you've got kids, this one is going to blow their socks off. Now, we do have to talk about the food, however. If you go here, don't expect to have the best meal of your life. I don't want to trash any restaurant, and the food here was actually pretty decent, but you do pay a bit of a surcharge because you've got a giant aquarium to stare at, and the food isn't that amazing because the giant aquarium is really what sells the restaurant. It's good, you're not going to go home displeased with your meal, but don't expect a Michelin star experience here. But if you are looking for a Michelin star experience, at least in tranquility, this next recommendation is a must-see. And this would be the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. Now, recommending a convention center is something that's a bit unconventional, but hear me out here. This is not just a convention center. This is not just a resort. This is an experience. And you don't need to pay anything to get entry into this experience. If you went to the Opry Mills Mall, which I just recommended for that aquarium restaurant, you can leave your car parked in the parking lot and walk across to the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. If you want to park there, it seems like there is a parking fee, so just a word of warning there. But if you're willing to walk a couple feet more, you don't even have to pay a fee. So you can walk into this convention center without paying anything, and this is not just a convention center. This is not just a resort. This is multiple atriums with fully working, fully functional rivers, a host of fauna, huge trees. It has waterfalls. It has multiple restaurants. It has everything. If you're looking for a fountain that shoots water 20 plus feet into the air, it even has that. Walking through this area, this convention center, I don't even know what to call this domed atrium, this domed piece of just tranquility, you get an experience that will bring you anywhere but Nashville. You will have no idea that you're in Nashville when you're in this area. There's even a small village here, and I recommend going to the village. You can go right into sort of the Starbucks or that pizza area, buy a nice drink, a coffee, a beer, whatever, go through there, sit out on the deck. You can get a perfect view of the fountain shooting off. Just experience complete tranquility. It doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. Inside, it is perfect. And this is honestly probably the best experience I had in Nashville, and probably one of the best experiences I have had in the last maybe like 6 months of travel. My words are failing me here just because of how amazing this experience was and how amazing this place was. In some areas, you've got 20 plus foot waterfalls crashing down. In other areas, you've got tranquil rivers going by. You've got light shows, fountain shows. You've got Christmas tree lights hung up in little areas to make these peaceful squares. It's everything that you want if you're looking for tranquility, in my opinion. But one of the things I would recommend doing here is taking a boat tour. They take you on a little boat, tell you the history of this resort, this convention center, whatever you want to call it, this Disneyland of places. They tell you the whole history of it. They tell you about how it flooded and how they had to rebuild it all and how everything in there is alive. They point out an alligator that is hopefully and obviously fake. And they go over everything that this resort has to